Hello everyone, Vacuum Info here. Today we're going to go over how to maintain a bagless Bissell vacuum. I have two up for an example, the PowerForce bagless and the PowerForce Helix. So both these machines are discontinued. You can't buy these anymore. In fact, the only machine that you can buy in this body style with this dirt bin setup is I believe that's called the Bissell Big Green Commercial, that's bagless. So anyways, this tutorial should be compatible with pretty much any Bissell vacuum that's in this body style, whether it's the vintage 6594 PowerForce bagless all the way to the PowerForce Helix before they redesigned it to the 1700 models, which would have been the 1240, 12B1, etc. So some models may be a little bit different with certain things, certain features, but this is pretty much the same. So we have a lock and seal lever. Just move that to the side. You can pull out the bin. You can empty it. Now, on the PowerForce bagless, the filter actually comes out with it. On the Helix, you actually do the same thing, but you pull the filter up and out. So let's talk about the filters. So on the bagless, you just twist the dirt cup. You have access to your filters. So I do want to explain something. You can see these actually have different filters, and they are not compatible. Meaning that I cannot take the filter from the bagless onto the Helix and put it on. Because what will happen is if you try to put the dirt container on, it's not going to go on because these fins stick up too high. If I put this one on, it won't fit because the bottom parts are indeed different. So you can still buy these filters, and I will provide links in the description, but make sure you pay attention to this top piece because, as you can see, that's an easy way to tell these apart. So you can wash these. They're both the exact same though as far as the material. You have a sponge filter on the outside, and then you have a pleated filter on the inside. That's, I guess you could say, HEPA. But you can wash these and you can replace them. I recommend replacing them every 3 months to a year, depending on your usage. If you have animals, you can wash these clear pieces out. And you also have another filter down right in there. So that's a little kind of pre-motor filter. You can rinse this, get that clean. You can also buy replacements. However, you really shouldn't have to replace this very often. You also have another filter on both of these right below. So on this bagless one, put that back in there. On this bagless one, you just have a basic felt strip, I guess. You can wash this and replace it. And on the Helix, this one's pleated. Now you can upgrade this one with one of these pleated ones. They do fit. They are interchangeable. So if I wanted to, I could put this one in. Oh, maybe not. So no, you cannot upgrade these with the HEPA filter. So if you have one of these, just buy the original one that it would have came with. You can find these everywhere. They're all over Amazon, Parts Warehouse. For that type of filter, you'll probably need to go to Parts Warehouse and type in the model number of the vacuum. So it only goes on one way. You cannot put it in the other way. It only goes in one way. You also have an upper tank cyclone on both of these. You can wash this. Sometimes hair and debris likes to wrap on this. Clean that off because that can restrict airflow. And one thing I see a lot of people struggle with is how to remove this clear plastic piece. So basically, I'm going to show how to do this. There is one single screw right there. So you're going to want to remove it. And then a lot of people will just try to pull up on this. You do not want to do that. You just simply take a flathead, wedge it under the clear plastic right there, and push it down. Can take a little bit of force, but it does pop out. You can wash this and clean it. So, filters can get clogged, and that can reduce efficiency and cause the vacuum to not pick up well. But if you're still experiencing weak to no suction, then you most likely have a clog in your hose. So this one has a plastic hose, but regardless, you can remove it. This one just twists off. You can pull it off from up here and remove the hose entirely. You can use a broom handle and dislodge the clog that way. Now on these higher end models that have a stretch hose, you might be able to tell if there's a clog, at least if it's clear enough to see. Now these often will clog right down here, this lower hose, and all you have to do is remove your hose. There's a single screw right here that you just undo. Just pull it out, and again, you can use a broom handle and dislodge the clog from the other side. You can stick the broom through here, and the clog should push out. These also get really loose, so if it is, just make sure the screw down here is tight. So once that's in, there shouldn't really be any play in that. Also, another maintenance tip, these pedals often break. So this is the foot pedal that you press to recline the machine. It's actually very easy to replace that. All you do is locate those two tabs. So if I get a screwdriver, all you do, those two plastic tabs, you have to move those out the way. So you probably want to use two of these. Move those two tabs out the way on each side, and then you can pop out this pedal. Often this is what breaks. I have seen people stick cardboard or maybe a piece of belt under this to fix it, and that can work. So if you do not want to replace it and you just want to try to fix it, you can do that. So, onto the brush roll. Now I should mention, some models have screws, some don't. Some have screws and clips, but either way, you want to undo them. In fact, we're going to do this example since this one has less screws. So this one has 4. Then you can pop off your rug plate. Now, sometimes these are kind of held on really tight, so just kind of wiggle them out. But this is the brush roll. All these Bissells pretty much use the same brush roll, except there is a difference between these two. This one takes the 15-inch, this one takes a 13-inch brush roll. So make sure you're ordering the correct one. You can simply just measure the width of the cleaner head to figure out what width yours is. Another thing is this belt. These belts stretch, they break. Basically, if they do, you're going to need to get Bissell Style 7 belts. Now these belts are easy to find. You can get them online at Walmart, everywhere. They're cheap enough, so buy them. Replace your belts regularly. Again, probably every 6 months to a year, depending on usage. So you can just pull the brush roll right out. Now another thing, once you clean this brush roll, this brush roll should spin freely. See how it spins? Freely. Now there's a little bit of noise, but nothing too major. If it is not spinning this freely, then it's likely that you have debris built up in these end caps. In some cases, you can wedge a flathead under here and pop them off. This doesn't work every time though. Sometimes you just end up breaking the brush roll. If you do not want to deal with that, just replace it. It's easier to go that route. Also, if your bristles are worn, it's also a good time to replace them. You can see this one looks good. So if it's not spinning freely or your bristles are worn on your brush roll, it's time for a new one of these. So again, this belt, they stretch, they break, they can dry rot depending on how old they are. This one's still good because I replaced it recently. Now another thing, there is a metal plate right there that is supposed to keep the belt from rubbing on the housing of the plastic, or at least it's supposed to protect the plastic from melting with the belt. Now sometimes when these brush rolls either warp, the housing warps, or the belt is defected, this will actually rub on this and cause a very squealy sound when the vacuum is turned off. So just take your brush roll. You want to stretch it. These usually are really tight. This one's not the tightest, so it's not going to take a lot of force. It is normal for them to be tight, so just you want to pop this side in, just like that. Rotate the brush a few times. It should spin freely. Nothing should get caught on anything. It should have resistance from the belt. And once that's been confirmed, you can put this on. You can also take off this high adjustment wheel. So sometimes these just pop off. Other times you have to kind of bend the plastic down and kind of rock this out. And there's usually a lot of debris and gunk built up in here. So if you have another vacuum, if you have a blower or something, you can just kind of clean all this out. And again, a lot of these parts are washable. Do not wash the brush roll. It does have bearings. Unless you can remove the bearings, do not wash it. Okay, so this base plate just kind of snaps in. This little tab on this model. Press everything in. And you can screw in your screws. Now I typically avoid using a drill because, well, yes, it's faster. You can end up stripping the plastic on these. I don't really see it happen too many times with these, but if you are going to use a drill, I would recommend using it on the lowest torque setting to avoid damaging or stripping the plastic. Okay, so another thing is this cord. If it has tears in it, you can see this one's kind of dirty, but if it has tears in it, you can see the wiring. It's time to replace your cord. If you see copper, do not use your vacuum anymore. That is a serious safety hazard. You can replace the cord. However, it is easy to replace cords on these. If you don't feel comfortable with it, in most cases, I would just recommend taking it to a vacuum store and have them do it for you. So yeah. Lastly, I would like to point out, this model does not have a headlight, but if it does, usually these are held on by 2 screws. Some models that were the last models that had headlights would actually have a tab. This one has a tab, but there's nothing to remove because there's no headlight. But again, usually you would have 2 screws, one right there and one right there. And you can replace the bulb that way. You probably get those bulbs AutoZone or something. And lastly, what I'm going to talk about is the motor. Sometimes these motors are too far gone, and they are serviceable. They're not easily serviceable for most people that don't really know what they're doing. So if you are experiencing a very loud motor or very weird sounding motor, it's probably time for a new vacuum, because most of the time the motor's going to cost either just as much as the vacuum was worth when it was new or more. So if you're having issues with your motor, it's time for a new vacuum. Okay, and the way you get this on is you're going to want to rock this clear plastic piece back in its spot before you snap it in. So once that's in place, you can push this in until you hear a click. Okay, well that's pretty much it for my maintenance and tutorial video on how to clean one of these machines out. So if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below. I hope this video helped, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to learn more about vacuum and for more vacuum content. So there you have it.